Beginning next month, millions and millions of people could become devastated and hurt as a result of the government shutdown when it comes to SNAP benefits. Tyrone Bowman Live. I'm going to talk about the impact of the government shutdown and individuals and families who really need SNAP benefits in order to survive within the economy that we're living in. But before I get into the beginning of this, I got an announcement I have to make, and I'm going to keep making this announcement until we reach our goal over the course of the weekend. I had an opportunity to thank some of the subscribers who contributed to building our new studio that we're working on, and hopefully we'll have it up and ready before the holiday starts. If not, then hopefully closer to the brand new year. So if you'd like to donate to it, and if you'd like to help us build the Tyrone Bowman Live studio, I put the information in the caption. All you have to do is just send us $1. That's it. If you get 1,000 people to send $1, that's all we need. So it's $PIEXEL number 4. All right, now let's get down to this story that I want to talk about as reported by Axios. And the reason why it's important is because people think it's a big joke when individuals go hungry, when individuals don't have enough money to buy food for their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. Now, granted, there are probably millions who are abusing the system. But what about those who are abiding by the rules and the regulations, and because of the political monopoly that's going on, and almost with this 20-plus day shutdown coming up, why should everyday people have to continuously suffer because these politicians would rather play ping pong with people's lives? They act like a bunch of children in a playground and mad because they can't get in the sandbox. So since they can't get in the sandbox, they destroy the sandbox so nobody can get in it. Now, according to Axios, the headline reads, shutdown could halt SNAP benefits for millions, according to states. So millions, this article, who is this written by? I like to give credit to people for their work. This is written by Avery Lotz. Avery Lotz wrote this article for Axios. Quote, millions of families could go without food aid next month. States have begun warning as the government shutdown threatens November's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, commonly known as food stamps. All right, let's deal with that part right now. You have a lot of people who need SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Hunger is at an all-time high in this nation. A lot of folks don't like to deal with reality. They would rather live in a fantastical world and pretend that Cinderella and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs exist. They'd rather live in a world of fantasy. But there are people who are dealing with everyday issues, everyday problems, everyday circumstances. They can barely pay their rent. They can barely pay their phone bill, and the free phone comes with so many stipulations attached to it. People just get rid of them and throw them in the trash. Many times, individuals, they can't pay the light bill on time. They can't pay the gas bill, and they barely have enough money over to buy food. Let's just say for a family of 2, and if you have a family of 3 or 4 or 5, so who is adversely affected? The Republicans and that bunch of people will try to have you believe that Black people are the most recipients of food stamps. That's a lie. Down in the deep South, in the southern states, adversely, they're going to be affected more because the majority of their people, the majority of the Caucasian people down, are the ones who are on SNAP and governmental programs. Because they don't have that many jobs down there, individuals are struggling. Poverty is real, ladies and gentlemen. Poverty is a real thing. While you have individuals concerned about billionaires, I really don't care about a billionaire's problems. I don't care that they can't get a brand new car or another house or whatever, because they are contractually involved with other billionaires, and they have ways, pardon me, my eye is itching, they have ways of having access to money where the everyday person doesn't. Like, I'll give an example. When a billionaire CEO files for bankruptcy, it is not the same as an individual filing for bankruptcy. So what's the differentiation between the two? When a major corporation files for bankruptcy, they are filing for bankruptcy to be protected so their creditors cannot come against them and get the money from them. So during the bankruptcy period, they are being shielded and protected, and they reorganize and get an accounting firm, a forensic an accountant to come in and help them to get their stuff in order. And the government, 9 times out of 10, bail them out. And then they reorganize and come back under a different name. When an everyday person files for bankruptcy, they get so many stipulations attached to it. If they miss one payment, then that's the end of it. That is not right, and that is not fair. Who is the voice of advocacy for everyday people? Who speaks up for the marginalized? Who speaks up for hungry children? Who speaks up for the widows and the senior citizens in this country who can barely have enough money to meet their needs and pay their bills? One thing you can count on, whether you agree with me or disagree with me on this channel, I don't placate, I don't play favorites. I don't have to come before this camera and to pretend to be something that I'm not. I am exactly the person that you see in front of this camera. So let's get back to the story, because I'm going to be commenting along the way. Let's look at the big picture here. As the funding lapse drags on with no sign of a deal to reopen the government, the impact is beginning to reach the program serving the country's most vulnerable families. The congressional majority leader, Mike Johnson, could care less about reopening the government. He could care less about his constituency. He could care less about families that are being impacted. All over the weekend, all they've been doing is lying on the Racist and Bigoted Network, their favorite place to go, and on X. Just telling outright lies, because you want to blame everything on the Democrats. Let me ask you a question. Let's use your brain here. The Republicans control the Senate. The Republicans control Congress. The Republicans control the White House. Why is there a government shutdown? The reason why there is because they want those that are in the minority, the Democrats, to go along with any and everything that they say, especially when they know it's wrong to take health care from seniors. It's wrong to take health care from needy families. It's wrong to tell people that health care is not free in America. Well, why don't you senators and you Congress people give back the free health care package that you have received? With your black card health care, why don't you give it back? Why don't you give the monies that you get every day, your lunch allowance money, give it back? Why don't you slash your salary in half? You know why you won't do it? Because you live from the public trough. It's not about helping people. It's about hurting people. It's about taking advantage of those who can't fight for themselves. You know, God hears the voice and the cries of the poor, whether you think that there's an almighty or not. Oh, he's real, and he does exist, and he's paying attention to everything that's going on. State agencies, we're already gearing up for sweeping November 1st changes to SNAP, including expanded work requirements under the One Big Beautiful Bill. So those requirements are going to be very stringent. And I know people personally because I'm a people person. I'm always in the streets. I'm up and down. I talk to everybody. I talk to the homeless. I talk to the seniors. I talk to everybody. And I interact with everybody, because I like to know what's going on, what's happening. And I remember a time, it's not now, I remember a time, especially when I was homeless and when I was younger, I had to get food stamps. I had to be on welfare. Listen, if you need it for a period of time, you need it for a period of time. But when things got better, I had to move on because I didn't want to take a place from somebody else. And too many people, you think it's a big joke because you're not out here pounding the pavement. You think it's a big joke because it hasn't affected your city, your town, your family members, and your relatives. That egg nest or that money set aside that you have eventually is going to dwindle down to nothing. Then what? You're going to keep using those credit cards to pay off debt after debt after debt until finally it's all going to catch up with you. And what's going to happen when you got that one big credit card payment? Because you can no longer take your credit cards to keep paying off debt. And people who have children, and listen, you better hear what I'm telling you because I know what I'm talking about. Do you know that when people come from other countries to this nation, where do they go to get their help? They send them to the welfare department. They get food stamps. They get cash allowances. They get health care. What? You don't like it? Are your little feelings hurt? Because it's the truth anyhow. I know because I live in the neighborhood where the welfare department is, and I see who comes and goes in and out of it all the time. You can't play with the kid. And then they will tell you black people are lazy. Black people have contributed nothing to this country. Black people, they're just racist and bigoted. Really? Well, the last time that I checked here in America that I've grown up in, though I love this nation, I love this country, but I don't like the racism and the bigotry and the prejudice that this country has fostered. I do have a group of people and organizations. I don't care. You can come up with all the fancy code names that you want. You can call it ABC, family values. It's tantamount to the same thing, racism and bigotry that you espouse at your meetings, through your fundraisers, your online campaigns, your hate campaigns. And then you sit back and say, well, those people that are on welfare, they need to get out and get a job. Well, how about you get out and get a job, sir? Stop sitting around drinking beer all day. And SNAP is the nation's largest domestic food assistance program. I did a program last week about hunger and homelessness in America. And I'm going to continue to make programs like that because it's real. These agencies, these nonprofit corporations who depend upon donors and the goodwill from individuals, and many of them are wealthy, who make sure that they have enough money in their coffers to buy food by the tons to feed those who just don't have the money for themselves. You go into your average neighborhood, everything is marked up by a 10% margin. Prices are out of control. You go into the Whole Food store or Giant or ShopRite or Rite Aid. Go into these different places. Everything is out of control. And then they have a nerve to want you to think that they're doing you a favor by charging you a lot of money. And they'll say something stupid like, well, if you want the very best, you have to pay a lot more. No, you know what that's called? That's called manipulation. That's called price gouging. That's what it's called. A mother of 5 cannot afford to go to a store in the neighborhood to do her weekly shopping because she'll spend every penny that she has just to come home with a half a bag of groceries. So Pennsylvania is one of the states that cautioned November 2025 benefits would not be paid. In a pointed alert, the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services said that, quote, because Republicans in Washington, D.C. failed to pass a federal budget, causing the federal government shutdown, November 2025 SNAP benefits cannot be paid. Now, Pennsylvania already said it's not going to happen. The money is not there. Why? Because the stoppage has been put in place. And you politicians, you're going to pay for it all. Oh, you think you're not? You're going to answer to Almighty God for the callousness, the hate, and the bigotry, and the coldness that you call yourself, and you got nerve to call yourselves Christians. The word Christian means Christ-like. It's not Christ-like to go along with evil. It's not Christ-like to tell mothers and children suffer. It's not Christ-like to continuously vote against things that individuals need on a daily basis. It's not Christ-like to continue to spew vitriol and lies out of your mouth every time you come before the camera. And the reason why a lot of these politicians go along with wrong because they got too much dirt and picadillos in their closets, and they don't want to be exposed. This is not a job. When you are called to public service, you are called to serve. You are not a celebrity. You're not a demigod. You are a public servant. A servant is supposed to look out for the best interest of those that put them in office. Whether you like it or not, it's the truth. And if you can't govern according to that, then you need to step aside. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, when the midterm elections come up next year, you better get up off of your behinds and do the right thing. Because if you don't, and you let these people continue to have the majority, you don't even know what type of catastrophic affliction that they're going to put upon everyday people in this country. It's not a joke. It's not a game. An administration official said in a letter, oh, wait a minute, I missed one. Make sure I got it. All right, here we go. Now, residents who need immediate food, according to the article, assistance, were urged to call 211 or seek community resources. Now, 211 is supposed to be the food emergency number that you dial if you need help in Pennsylvania. Community services are referring to community centers and churches that probably once or twice a week, they have the food banks where people can come. Like there's a place in South Philadelphia on Broad and Snyder every Thursday. I don't know if they do it during the wintertime, but every Thursday, they're out there with tons of food and clothing and water and toiletries and essentials that people need. And the lines are so long until the lines are around the block. And I tell people, if you don't need anything, don't get in that line and take something away from somebody that really needs it. That's cold and callous to do. And don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to get in line early in the morning and go to your community food center if they have it and get what you need for your family. That food box will go a long way. In my neighborhood, there are Mexicans, there are Latinos, Ukrainians, Chinese, Japanese, Hindus, people from Thailand, people from Afghanistan, black people, white people. They're in those lines early in the morning. Get rid of that stupid pride. If you need a food box for your family, then go. And then after you go to that one, find out where the next one is serving food and go to that one as well. You have to use your mind. During the Great Depression, John D. Rockefeller Sr., who then was probably the richest man in America, that's how the Rockefeller Center was built. He hired an architect to design it, and he employed 30,000 men. 30,000 men whose families were fed because he created a job for them. So go to your community food bank. Because when they start making the announcements, and if I can find any information about them, if they got any pamphlets or stuff, I'll put it in the short video section on my channel. Because this is a channel where you should be able to come and you can get the help that you need. There are many things I'm going to be doing, but I don't tell all my business out. A lot of things I do quietly, and I do it secretly. That's why, one reason why we're building this studio. Because it's going to translate into a lot of things. I'm not just going to be in there talking about news. You'll find out once it gets built. And that's why I ask to subscribers to send in $1. That's it. I'm not asking for anything more. or anything less. $1 is not a lot of money to donate to the Cash App. $ Piexel, Piexel number 4. An administration official said in a letter to state agencies earlier this month that there wouldn't be, quote, sufficient funds, end quote, to pay full November benefits for some 42 million people. What? All right, let's break this down. You got money to loan to other nations, money to bail corporations out from the foolery that they get involved in, money to build nonsensical projects, money to finance campaigns. But you can't find the money so that 42 million people won't go hungry in America. Are you serious? So there's no money for that. There's no money for the poor. There's no money for the needy. There's no money for people who voted for these silly people and put them in office. But there's no money to help out everyday hungry families in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. How can children go to school and learn how to study if they're thinking about food on their mind because they got up and all they had was a bag of potato chips for breakfast? Reagan cut out all the free breakfast food programs. Or people think Reagan was one of the best presidents America ever had. No, he was not. The letter directed states not to start the process of distributing benefits to SNAP recipients, quote, electronic benefit transfer or EBT cards for November, end quote, until further notice, Axios Andrew O'Sullivan reported. Don't look for the benefits because they're not going to be there. Get a part-time job, even if it doesn't pay a lot of money. Do what you have to do to take care of your family. Do what you have to do to keep the lights on, to pay the rent, ethically, legally, and morally. Don't let people tell you that you can't survive in this economy. Yes, you can. It's a mindset. West Virginia's Department of Human Services said in the statement it was, quote, very likely, end quote, the shutdown would delay November's benefits if Congress did not find a way to reopen the government, quote, in the coming days, end quote. Now, this is coming from West Virginia. What is the populace down in West Virginia? White people. The majority of them are white people in West Virginia. Now, they are going to feel the brunt of not having the SNAP benefits come into their communities. Now, they're going to understand what other people have been dealing with and are continuing to deal with on an everyday basis. They have families. They have concerns just like everybody else. You see the damage that happens and that's inflicted upon people when people will not vote in their best interest? Do you see what happens when individuals think that they're hurting somebody, but indirectly you are hurting yourself and your families? The post shared to Facebook said the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service had directed the state to delay October benefits approved on or after October 16th. This is a real crisis. This is a real dilemma. This is a catastrophic moment that's happening. And some of these politicians will be sitting around sucking and smoking on their cigars, drinking their whiskey, their cognac, and their vodka, hanging out with their buddies and pals and laughing at the suffrage that goes on in this country. Well, the Democrats are the ones that are to blame for the government being shut down. You had the power to keep it open, but you chose not to. Democrats are not supposed to go along with stuff that's going to hurt the constituency. They're not supposed to go along with policies that are going to hurt families and children and seniors. Now let's go down to Texas. You know, they do everything big in Texas, remember? The Texas Health and Human Services Commission notified Texans that SNAP benefits in November would not be issued if the shutdown continues past Monday, October 27th. That's in Texas, y'all. The Lone Star State, the state where they do everything big in Texas. Well, guess what? There's going to be a big hunger and food shortage in Texas because the SNAP's benefits are not coming through Texas either. Minneapolis and Illinois, among other states, also issued warnings. So what happens from here? Quote, we're going to run out of money in 2 weeks, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins told reports last week. So you're talking about millions and millions of vulnerable families of hunger families and families that are not going to have access to these programs because of this shutdown, quote, close quote. No, they're not going to have access to food, clothing, and shelter because of political football, because of political mind games. What's going on now is we're going to keep it shut down to find out who caves in first, who crawls back, who will come begging us to shut it down. We'll teach these blacks a lesson. Oh, these blacks are going to learn in America. They're going to learn, gosh darn it, even if we have to hurt our own people, they're going to learn. So you think it's a game? People think it's a joke? Some people think this is a laughing matter. This is not a game. This is not a joke. This is not a laughing matter. Hunger is not a laughing matter. Starvation is not a laughing matter. Let me tell you MAGA pastors and MAGA superstar preachers something. Instead of you always begging and clamoring and asking for money, why aren't you raising money to feed the hungry in your own neighborhoods and families in your own churches? Why aren't you taking up substantial offerings to make sure that those who gave their tithes and their offerings and special offerings, you better get off of yourself man-made thrones or woman-made thrones, and you better look out for the poor and the starving in your congregations. Because God Almighty will hold you responsible, sir or madam. And don't be telling them, well, you got to tie a seed to your need. And when you tie a seed to your need, and then the need can be met. Forget about all that BS. Do the right thing. Look out for those who cannot look out for themselves. And don't say something stupid like, well, you know, the church is not a welfare department. In Black America, the church has always been the hub for everything. For politics, for food, for clothing, for shelter, for education. During the last government shutdown, the USDA paid February SNAP benefits early, leaving low-income participants experiencing a longer than usual gap in receiving their safety net benefits. Well, could have, should have, would have. It ain't going to happen now. They're not going to do it. And for those of you who thought you were going to get a $5,000 stimulus check during the campaign season, surprise. Earlier this month, Axios first reported that the White House would use funding from tariff revenue as a temporary fix to keep SNAP programs for women, infants, and children, also known as WIC, afloat during the lapse. Well, you reported wrong, Axios, because they're not going to do it. Hunger, homelessness, it's real. And I'm going to use the voice that God Almighty gave me to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. So I'm going to be doing some research. I'm going to go throughout my neighborhood. I'm going to find out all the availability programs that they have, gather that information, come back, and I'm going to put it on this channel for individuals. And those of you who are in advocacy work in other cities, because this program goes around the world, Make sure that you are doing the same thing. Help people in time of need without expecting anything in return. All right, I got to go and get ready for the next video, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a minute, Anonymous said, I guess they'll get double at Christmas once it passes. You know what, Anonymous? You're right. They're already thinking about themselves and how much money they'll get during the holiday season. And then they'll stand out there and say something stupid like, Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful Christmas. Have a happy Thanksgiving. How can people have a happy Thanksgiving when they ain't got no food? How can Christmas be merry when there's no money to buy gifts and presents for? With, rather. How? Make it make sense. Some things you got to make it make sense. My life is dedicated to helping the poor and the suffering. My life is dedicated to helping those who are marginalized. And let me tell you something about me. I love all people. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what race they are. I don't care what political party they're affiliated with. Some people are just misguided. I don't care about what their sexuality is. I don't care what place of origin they come from. Human life is human life. Because when my life is over, when I stand before the God of all eternity, I want to be able to tell him I tried my best to do what was right while I was on the earth. This is not a game. We have to do better. We're going to do better. Just think that if that was your brother, your sister, your nephew, your cousin, your uncle, your auntie, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, or even your father that was going hungry. Some people, let me just say this, and this is sure to piss some people off. And I don't care. You love your dogs and your cats and your horses and your animals better than human beings. They get better food and better treatment and better service than people. They get the best medical coverage, the best treatment. Every one of their needs are met. And you're going to tell me in a land of plenty, in a land where the government has storehouses full of food in case starvation hits the nation or hits the world? Oh, they're real. You think government storehouses are not real? Yes, they are. In a land where politicians can raise almost $1 trillion to run for office, where nonprofit corporations are established and CEOs and nonprofit corporations are making a ton of money at the expense of everyday people? Do you think that the United Way, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, you think those people work for free? They do not work for free. Do you think the Red Cross employees and the CEO works for free? I'm going to do a special and I'm going to show you how much the CEOs make in nonprofit corporations. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Are you the chocolate guy, rain guy? No disrespect. I'm being curious. I don't even know what you mean by that. You're going to have to break that down. I have no idea. I'm here talking about something serious, and you want to know if I'm the chocolate rain guy. I'm not an actor. I'm not a singer. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not trying to be in the entertainment industry. I'm out here doing advocacy work in the trenches to help everyday people. That's the call. That's the mission. I'm here studying vigorously to become a lawyer so I can advocate for the poor, advocate for the homeless, advocate for the hungry, so I can fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. I don't have time to be an entertainer. That is not my call. Everybody has his or her own gifts and their own call in their life. That's not what God Almighty called me to do. I once was a pastor. Yes, I was. That time is over. I'm an advocate. So until next time, it says you're entertaining. He says you're entertaining. I don't know how. I'm not a comedian. You know, I'm not going to call his name, but I have a very dear friend of mine who's a world famous comedian who I grew up with. I was talking with him a few days ago, and I'm going to hit him up and tell him what I want to do to help some people through this channel that are having some rough time to getting food. All right, y'all. Got to get up out of here for now. The Angry Black Man. I love it. You can call me the Angry Black Man. I'll wear that title with pride. And don't forget about the angry white men for no reason whatsoever. What? Am I supposed to be ashamed of being angry? Heck no. I just make sure my anger is channeled into the right forum and in the right ways. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get up out of here. I'll be back gonna take a break for about 5 to 10 minutes. Love you all. Pro or con, whether you love me, like me, loathe me, hate me, you're always welcome to this channel. Never surrender. Never quit.